Hello, everybody, and good evening. I'm Don Arleth, and you're watching World News coming to you live from Warsaw. The European Union wants to fortify military infrastructure around the Black Sea to strengthen the bloc's security and thwart Russian aggression, according to a new strategy. The EU's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, has made the announcement in Brussels on Tuesday, adding that the proposal also includes building a Black Sea maritime security hub to monitor the region. Now we're joined live by our EU correspondent, Angela Skujins from Brussels. So, Angela, what are the actual deliverables for this proposal?
Yes, excellent question, John. It feels like every day the European Commission hands down a new proposal addressing some kind of problem, but this one has got us reporters in the press corps quite excited as the outcomes appear to be quite tangible. The aim there, of course, are addressing some of those attacks perpetrated by Russia. We're talking about those undersea cable cuts, particularly in the Black Sea. So how does the EU want to address this? They will do it with three pillars, the first being upgrades to some of those major military mobility networks. We're talking about facelifts to roads, railways and ports. The aim is to ensure that troops can be when they need to be there, as well as their gear. But the EU is keen to stress it doesn't want to step on the toes of NATO. They'll work alongside that military alliance to plug those holes that are presented there. The second being a massive investment in fighting hybrid threats. So the EU wants to work with some of those countries around the Black Sea, possibly Romania, Ukraine, Moldova, that EU candidate country, to fight disinformation and some of those narratives that are being peddled by Moscow. But the third pillar, which is arguably the centrepiece of this strategy, is the Black Sea Maritime Security Hub. Let's take a listen to what the High Representative Kaja Kallas had to say about this critical piece of infrastructure.
This hub will be Europe's early warning system in Black Sea. It will enhance situational awareness and help protect critical infrastructure, like offshore installations and subsea cables. The hub could also help monitor any peace between Russia and Ukraine.
Yes, so we just heard a mention of Ukraine there. The overall aim is to monitor any ceasefire proposal that is brokered between those two countries as Russia continues another year of aggression there. It will also be monitoring Russia's other activities. We know, as I said earlier, Moldova is an EU candidate country. Georgia is there too, but that will depend on whether that country wants to revert its path and join the 27 EU member state bloc. But one of the bigger questions is where that hub will be located, as it would be a massive boon for any country in particular wanting to show off their military chops. But we'll have to wait and see for that ribbon-cutting ceremony, as we haven't heard any update regarding this potential location. But that's all from me in Brussels. I'll send it back to you in Warsaw.
Angela Skujins is reporting there from Brussels. Thanks for your report. Ukraine and Germany have reached a new defense cooperation deal, pledging to invest in weapons production on Ukrainian soil. The agreement, finalized during President Vladimir Zelensky's meeting with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, also outlines joint efforts to develop and expand Ukraine's domestic defense manufacturing capabilities. Our Kyiv correspondent Oz Chatterjee has more.
Germany and Ukraine have agreed to sign a memorandum on the procurement of long-range missiles for Kyiv. This was announced during President Zelensky's visit to the German capital of Berlin, where he was meeting with the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. And this announcement was made at a joint press conference between those two leaders. Let's take a listen to what the German Chancellor had to say about this memorandum.
Unsere Verteidigungsminister werden heute eine Absichtserklärung.
Our defense ministers will sign a memorandum today on the procurement of Ukrainian-made long-range weapon systems, so-called long-range fires. There will be no range restrictions. This will enable Ukraine to fully defend itself, even against military targets outside its own territory.
Damit vollumfänglich verteidigen.
So the procurement of long-range missiles has been a long-standing request from the Ukrainian government. So Kyiv will be pleased that there is movement with Berlin on this issue. The other issue that Ukraine is really hoping to see movement on is a further round of sanctions from the European Union to be applied against Russia. Now, Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor, said that he hopes these sanctions will weaken Moscow's war machine, as an 18th round of sanctions is being currently prepared by the European Union, but no indication as to when that will be passed. However, the Ukrainians will be pleased that there is certainly movement in that direction from the European Union. It's Oz Chatterjee reporting from Kyiv for TVP World.
A storm of fierce statements from Moscow and Washington hit the social media sphere following Donald Trump's online outburst targeting Russian President Vladimir Putin. From calls for peace negotiations to threats of World War III, the online exchange has raised the already high tensions between the United States and Russia.
It all started with Donald Trump firing the first shot, motivated by months of built-up frustration over a deadlock in peace negotiations with Russia.
What Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. And I mean really bad. He's playing with fire.
Moscow doesn't take such fierce words lightly. Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chief of Russia's Security Council and former president of Russia, fired back with all he's got.
Regarding Trump's words about Putin playing with fire and really bad things happening to Russia, I only know of one really bad thing: World War III. I hope Trump understands this.
Washington, however, determined to come out on top in the exchange, did not stay quiet, with U.S. Special Envoy Keith Kellogg taking the lead in the verbal offensive.
Stoking fears of World War III is an unfortunate, reckless comment by Dmitry Medvedev and unfitting of a world power. President Trump is working to stop this war and end the killing. We await receipt of the Russian memorandum, term sheet, that you promised a week ago. Ceasefire now.
Despite Donald Trump's claims that he could end the war in Ukraine in a matter of days after being re-elected, thanks to his great relationship with Vladimir Putin, tensions have been rising between Washington and Moscow. Russia has repeatedly neglected participation in peace negotiations with Ukraine while continuing its bombardment of Ukrainian cities. Stalled peace negotiations have frustrated US President Trump to the point of seriously considering tightening sanctions on Russia, as he told reporters last Sunday, marking a shift from his earlier approach to the peace process at the beginning of his second term, where he claimed Russia was, quote, easier to deal with than Ukraine.
To be thankful. You don't have the cards.
The southeastern Polish city of Wrocław is hosting today the final round of the third best European football club competition, the UEFA Conference League. Thousands of supporters of England's Chelsea and Spain's Real Betis flocked to the Polish city to cheer for their teams, but some of them had problems containing their emotions. We're now going live to Piotr Miszczuk, who's in front of the stadium. Piotr, so how's the situation there in Wrocław ahead of the game?
So for the time being, it's very peaceful. The supporters are going now to two separate meeting points close to the stadium. The stadium is on the outskirts of Wrocław. Some have already come to the stadium. They are singing, chanting, taking photographs ahead of the game. And there are also two fan zones in the city centre, as there are, Wrocław had said that they are expecting around 70,000 visitors for this very event. And the stadium capacity is only 45,000 people, so some of them will not get in. Yesterday we had a clash between two small groups of supporters of Real Betis and Chelsea fans. They threw chairs and bottles at each other. The police had to intervene, and following those events, the Polish Prime Minister Tusk took to Twitter. He thanked the police and said that the police will take stricter action if the situation repeats. But we will see whether this time around it will be more peaceful. Let's hope that football will be at the very center of events, not some skirmishes between the two groups. The match begins at 9, so we'll see afterwards. Back to you, Don.
All right. Hopefully, yeah, things are a little bit more peaceful tonight. Piotr Miszczuk reporting there for us from Wrocław. And that's all the time we have in this edition of World News. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.